I realized because I bought one property that made me $250 or more. And then I realized $250 in 1 month, that's $3,000 a year without working. Well, if I just did the math, it's super simple. 10 properties is $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year in passive income.
Yep.
20 properties is $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year without working. And I realized it's just time. It's just economy of scale. Like I just got to keep growing, keep building the business.
Hey. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Bent Schweifert. I'm America's most sought after real estate investor. And I have a wicked smart man with me today. So you're really going to love my interview. And as you know, these sessions, I like to call them inside the minds of today's millionaires. And so what we do is we dig in, we ask a lot of questions, and we find out how they got where they're at. So that hopefully by listening, you can hear something that may go, oh, that's my missing piece. Because all of us had to start from the ground up too. And if you're not there yet, then hopefully my show and my guests will help you get to that place. So here at Dwanderful, it's important for you to know that the motto is people before profits. So if that resonates with you, you're at the right place. This is the right time. And today I got your guest. I've got Dustin Heiner with me. Dustin, how are you today?
I am blessed, Dwan. How are you? It's great being on the show with you and being able to really just to share with people about how awesome investing is and really just to hang out with great people like you. So this is great.
I know. I'm so excited. So we always start off, we have a toast. So cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for being on my show today.
Absolutely.
Everybody take a drink. Everybody's listening or watching. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a stretch. Clear your mind and prepare to have fun and listen to us today. So I feel like when people just kind of stretch for a second, just take a breath, they can focus it on listening and not be in a big hurry. So basically what we like to do, first off, Dustin, is we want you to tell us who you are, what it is that you do, how we can reach you. And then I'm going to backtrack and ask you a bunch of questions and find out how you got to where you're at today. So basically we want to know, what is your deal?
Yeah. Everybody, my name's Dustin Heiner, and I'm a real estate investor. That's literally what I do. I invest in real estate, and I was blessed to be able to quit my job when I was 37 years old, and I like the term successfully unemployed, and became successfully unemployed at 37 years old because I had enough rental properties that each one making me $250 or more in passive income to be able to replace my income from my JOB, like that JOB, that just over broke job. I was blessed to be able to do that. And then as I was quitting my job, I was telling people, hey, I'm quitting my job. And people would ask me the question, Dustin, like, how are you going to be able to provide for yourself and your family? And I'd say, well, I have real estate. I don't have to do anything. It makes money for me. And then with that, they would always ask me the second question, always followed up with, can you show me how to do it? And so I started teaching friends and family members how to do it, which was a lot of fun.
Before we dig way in, hold on. We know what you do. You're an investor. Tell us how we get a hold of you. I always like your the way to reach you, like 4 or 5 times in the show notes, because some people just like skip straight to the show notes. They don't really listen. So tell us, and I got a lot of questions to ask you. So tell us how we get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you can
the world find you.
Yeah, you could definitely find me. And this is as I was coaching people, I decided to create Master Passive Income. MasterPassiveIncome.com is the company that I created where I literally just give out lots and lots of free content on how to do it. I have a podcast, Master Passive Income Podcast, and it's literally just me I barely do interviews. It's just giving out free information. My YouTube channel, Master Passive Income, and I usually wait till the end, but since you're doing this right now, you'll want to get this free course. So I have a real estate investing course. I literally give it out for free. I'll give it to everybody. So if you text the word rental, RENTAL, rental to 33777, rental to 33777, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, all one word, /free course. I'll give you like everything we're going to talk about today, which I'm literally going to outline it to you. If we get into all this, I'll show you exactly how I and my students invest in real estate. But that's how you could find me.
Okay, so I like to give it out in the beginning. Some people like wait to the end. It's like, listen, we don't care. I want everybody to know how to find you. First of all, I freaking love your shirt. Success. I have a shirt I had made for myself that says unemployable.
So I like that term, but it came across a little aggressive. And so when my wife, actually, she's the one that came up with successfully unemployed. She was the one that came up with that idea. I was like, you know what? That sounds like that gives somebody the idea to ask the question, what does that mean?
No, and the logo with the S and the U, it's like, oh, what great mind. It fits right there on the camera. It's like, what great marketing.
Well, Dawn, I'll go ahead and send you one. So after we're done, I'll get your address and I'll send you a shirt for free.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to wear it, and I'll wear it on one of my shows. I'll say, like my buddy Dustin.
There we go.
Okay, so masterpassiveincome.com, which I super love. And I am actually going to text you when we're done today, 33777. I'm going to text you rental because I love that too. All right, so you said you got into real estate investing. So I always like people, like my story is so interesting. So I always like people to have a chance, like just kind of tell us your story. Tell us your story, like, because I know that your story is great. And I want to hear your story. And then I'm going to backtrack quite a bit and ask you some questions.
Absolutely. So, fast forward to the end, 37 years old. I quit my job. It was fantastic to be able to do that. But I didn't start out, perfectly quitting my job and rich and everything. In fact, I started really, really poor. So let me go back to beginning a little bit. So when growing up, my family was pretty poor. But I've always been taught, just like we're all taught, to follow this career path that we're taught from the very beginning. You go to school, you get good grades, and then you get good grades, and you go to college, get even more good grades, and get in thousands and thousands of dollars into debt. And then you take that piece of paper, that degree that they give you, and you go around and you try to find a job at a company, and they call it a career. Then you work 40 plus years of your life, and then you try to retire when you're 65 or older on the money that you managed to save up your entire life. And then I was doing that normal thing because that's all we're taught. But at the same time, I had always been entrepreneurial, meaning, starting businesses and stuff, or the idea. So when I was 13 years old, I had a newspaper route. That's where you ride on a bike with
hang on, because I want to ask you.
I
have one of my questions right here is, what were you doing when you were like 13, 14, 15?
Perfect.
That's one of my favorite questions, because I like to see what you were doing when. So how old are you right now?
I am 43 years old.
Okay, 43. 43 and looking mighty fine. I'm going to say that just for all the girls out there listening. Married with lots of kids, though.
Yeah, I got 4 kids. Yeah. And so when I was 13, I was literally delivering newspapers on my bike.
What part of the country were you living in then?
California. Okay,
so you're living in California, and you had a paper route.
Yes.
Like the old paper route on the bike where you like threw the papers up on the door.
Well, usually you try to do that, but normally like banging on the garage doors at 5 a.m. and waking people up. So I'd always been entrepreneurial. And so that was one quote unquote business I had. I had a skateboard manufacturing business that I started, a graphic and website design company. I even started a convenience store and a pizzeria all from scratch because I wanted to create a business. But I had always been doing the normal 9 to 5 because we're all taught that. But I got to tell you this quick story about how I got catapulted or like shoved into real estate investing.
Okay.
So I was working a regular 9 to 5 job doing IT work or technology work for a local county government. And that's a government, local county government there in California. And I bought one rental property at the time. And I realized I needed to be an investor because if I buy one property, it makes me money over and over and over again without working, which was great. But you know how it always happens, life gets in the way. And so my wife and I started having kid after kid after kid. Eventually, my wife had our 4th child. And here's the story. My wife had our 4th child, and I go on paternity leave. That's where the dad stays home with the baby, changes poopy diapers.
I love paternity leave. No one ever does it, though.
And no, so I did, and I went off for 2 weeks. And then that week that I get back to work, I get a call from my boss's secretary, like the top dog, on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. I get this phone call. And remember, I just got back from paternity leave, and I pick up the phone, and the secretary says, "Dustin, would you please come to the office?" And I said, "Sure." And then I hung up the phone, and I paused for a second. I thought, My goodness, like this isn't normal. Why are they calling me the office? Like I've also seen plenty of movies that these types of call at Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon is not very good.
Not
And then
good.
as I'm sitting there, I remembered that a couple months before I went on paternity leave, there were some rumors or some rumblings going off that there could potentially be layoffs in our department because they were running low on funds. And I immediately shook that off. I said, no way, I've got 12, 13 years seniority here. My bosses think I do a great job. Everything's going to be totally fine. And so I get up and I shake that off and I walk down the hallway to my boss's office. Now, Dwan, this hallway isn't very long. In fact, it's kind of short, but every single step that I take, it feels like the hallway gets longer and longer and longer. And it feels like my feet become lead bricks because every step that I take, it's dawning on me. It's weighing on me now that I could potentially lose my job. Well, I get down the hallway and I turn the corner and I see my boss's door. His door is closed. And I see his secretary there. She's super sweet, nice old lady. And she says, Dustin, would you please have a seat? And she's grinning, sheepishly grinning at me, trying to console me with her eyes because she knows everything about what's going on. She knew. And I knew nothing about what's going on. So I walk over there and I have my seat. And as I sit there, I start thinking about, oh my goodness, all this time following this quote unquote plan that I've been told to do my entire life. If I get laid off or if I lose my job right now, was my entire life, was that a waste? And then I started thinking, if I don't have a job, how am I going to feed my family? Like, if I can't feed my family, what does that make me as a father? Does that make me a failure as a father? Does that make me a failure as a husband, as a man trying to provide for his family? Well, as I'm sitting there, everything is starting to weigh and just crush down on me, and my hands get all clammy, my forehead gets all sweaty because everything is just starting to come together. And then the door to my boss's office opens up. And out walks a lady, a coworker of mine, with a piece of paper in her hands. She is noticeably distraught, noticeably upset. She's not necessarily crying, but you could tell her world's been devastated. Right. She passes by me, and my boss says, Dustin, would you please come into the office? So I get up and I go into the office and I get laid off. And remember, this is the government. Nobody gets fired or laid off from the government, but I did. And if it happened to me, it can happen to anybody. Everybody. So, and this is the reason why I'm telling you the story, because this is what got me into it. Well, I take that layoff note into real estate investing. I take that layoff notice and I go back to my desk and I sit down and I realize two things sitting right then and there. The first thing I realize is I need to get another job. I need to be able to provide for my family. So I was really, really blessed. Praise the Lord to find another job in the same county, whole different department. They weren't having the issues. I was blessed to be able to move over there. No problem. So check. The second thing that I realized sitting right there and there in that desk was that I needed to make sure that this never, ever happened to me again. I needed to make sure that nobody had the ability to take away my ability to feed my family. So right then and there, I realized that every single time somebody would ask me the question, Dustin, what do you do? They're basically asking me and asking you when you get that question, they're saying, what value do you put on yourself? Well, I would immediately reply, oh, I work for the county. I do IT work for the county. Well, I'm basically putting my value of myself in my job. No, my value doesn't come from my job. My value comes from my God, from myself, and from my family. So right then and there, I realized no longer would I ever say my job was now my value. Remember, I said that I knew I needed to be an investor, but life got in the way and I just stopped. Right then and there, I realized every single time I get that question, I'm going to tell everybody, I am an investor. Now, it may so happen that 100% of my money comes from my job. That's now my part-time job. I am a full-time investor. And so fast forward the story, I started buying property, rental property after rental property, each one making me $250 or more in passive income all over the country, not in California where I lived. I started investing back in 2006. And in 2006, prices were skyrocketing. So I started buying Ohio and Texas and Arizona. Yeah. And so I'll fast forward the story. I started buying property after property. 5 or 6 years later, I had 30 plus properties making me $250 or more in profit and passive income. And then I realized, even though I'm making $75,000 a year here, I'm losing money. And here's the story. Here's what everybody needs to realize. Your value is so much more than anybody could ever pay you. And this is how you're going to know that. Your boss is paying you just enough to keep you working without quitting, but not so much money that's taking money out of their pocket. And so if you got paid for what you're worth, they would go broke. So what we need to do now is get paid for our value. So what I did was I changed it to now where I am in control. So I'll round out the story by sharing, I went to my new boss, great boss and all, working there for a number of years. And I said, "Hey, boss, I'm laying you off. Like, here's your 2 weeks notice," jokingly. And he said, "Dustin, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't have to do anything. I own real estate. I literally don't work and I make money." So I'll round out the story by sharing this. If you remember that small hallway that got longer and longer and longer, it was the worst walk ever. Well, the day that I left my job for the very, very last time, it was a 1.5 mile walk. I was working in downtown. I didn't want to pay for parking. So it was a 1.5 mile walk. I've taken those walk thousands of times. Well, I felt like I was walking on clouds because I knew I would never, ever need a job again. And I'm now getting paid for the value that I bring as opposed to the hour that I work. So I'll pause the story because you probably got plenty of questions.
No. Your story is, I love, you know what? Your enthusiasm is contagious. It's
Thank
just like,
you.
oh, you're so excited. The thing that you said that, well, all of it's really great, but one of the things, I do a lot of live seminars, and when I walk out, before I say hi or anything, I always say to the crowd, I say, how many of you, by show of hands, how many of you feel like you're worth more than what you make? Every hand goes up. I'm like, but if you feel like you're worth more than what you're making, why are you not investing, working for yourself and making more? Because every hour of your life at work, you sell that hour. So you're going to sell it to the guy over here making the money, like you said, paying you just enough, but not enough to really like put a hurt on them. Or are you going to like work for yourself and like decide, what you want, because time's our most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
And
that's the one thing you can spend and never get any more of.
People, they don't. And I don't know. I know for me in my 20s, you're like 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Like, I'm never going to be old. I can party all the time. Like, you're out there. You don't ever think that. But then you get in your 40s and you get in your 50s, and like I'm in my 60s, and you're like, I have less time ahead of me than what's behind me, and I don't want to waste it. So totally. I think that I always tell people, no matter how old you are, especially for the younger people, you need to place value on your time. And you probably won't feel that you need to do that till you're older. Cause I don't know. For me, I don't know if I was immature in my 20s, but I never, you think you're never going to grow up really. And all of a sudden one day you're like, okay. Like you said, it's like, oh, I'm 37. I just lost my job for no reason. And then it is.
Well, I was 37 when I quit. I think I was like 31 when I lost my job, and we just had our 4th child. So yeah, absolutely. And here's what also, when I was talking to my wife, because of realizing that it's more risky. Now, a lot of people ask me a question because I coach a lot of students how to invest in real estate. And I get the question, Dustin, like it's risky in somebody else's hands rather than your own. I found it's so much more risky. I almost wasn't able to feed my family. But praise the Lord, now I literally will never work for anybody else again. And I have 40 plus hours of my life back every single week to play with my kids, to build businesses, which is what I do now. So I'll fast forward to what I do now. So I build businesses now. I love real estate, but then I also love building businesses. Now, on top of that, I have plenty of, we've heard the term streams of income. I love having multiple streams of income, but I have a river of income. That's my real estate. So every business that I create now funnels into my river of real estate investing, passive income coming in now. So everything from buying more properties, investing in syndications, getting land investing, all that sort of stuff. So what I've done now is I use my time much more wisely to benefit myself and my family. Because what's great, and you know this, Dwan, all the real estate that we're buying, we're creating generational wealth. I will literally give these. Yes. Absolutely. I will literally give these properties to my kids and teach them how to do it themselves. Just like nobody, you cannot give your job, your job, to your kids. You can't do that. But you can give your real estate. You can give any money that you save up. You can give businesses. I literally have 5 businesses that make me money. And as my kids are growing up, I actually employ them in the business. I'll give you a quick example. One of the most
Let me ask you a question real quick. How old is your oldest child?
She's 14.
Okay. So, and the little one is how old?
9.
Okay, so they're old enough at that age, even at 9. They're still old enough to do that.
I have I sell I give away books. Like I wrote a book called How to Quit Your Job with Rental Properties. I know not a very creative title, but straightforward to the point. But people get it. It's just free shipping or free if you just pay for the shipping. They are the ones that print up the labels. They're the ones that stuff into the bags and do all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I pay them to do that. And the other business I just started, I have a real estate investor conference called the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. And it's basically a no sales pitch conference. Like most real estate conferences, they say, run to the back and go give us thousands of dollars and all that sort of stuff. This is not that. It's all about educating and helping people and coaching people and serving them. But anyways, I created this conference. It's in Phoenix. This year in 2023, it'll be in Phoenix. 2024, it'll be in Florida. But we had lots of attendees. And I had my oldest daughter. She was working the registration booth. She was in there working and make it like she's a part of it. But we homeschool our kids. In fact, let me take that back. I have the easy job of making money. My wife has a hard job of homeschooling our kids.
Homeschooling for kids is no joke. But when my kids were all teenagers, we were doing a lot of seminars at that time. I had them calling people and doing confirmations. When we'd sell programs, I had them make the programs, send the programs, ship the programs. So we did an extension on our house. They all had to work and do the rehabbing. And, I didn't give them allowance. Like they had to work in the business to get money. And now all my kids are all in their 30s. All three of them are in their 30s and they're all in real estate. And they own rentals, they have commercial buildings, they have duplexes, and they're all in it. And they're just like, I can't even imagine. I don't know what our life would be like. I was like, well, just like you, Bill and I don't know about you, but Bill and I are the first two people. We're both raised in Ohio and Iowa. So we're the first two people in our entire generationals of our families to become millionaires. So then we're like, okay, we're going to do what the Bible says, and we're going to create generational wealth with us and our kids and the grandkids. And it's got to start somewhere. Like I wish my grandparents and my great grandparents or somebody back then would have bought 10,000 acres and started something. I'm like, come on, why did nobody start anything until I came along? But people, I don't think they realize how important it is to build generational wealth and to raise, because we're not really raising kids, we're raising adults. Yep. Raise them to work, have a good work ethic, not be woke, and to contribute to society.
Yes.
Contribute to society. And I just don't think people put enough emphasis on that anymore. So I love the fact that you're creating generational wealth and you got all your cutie pie kids over there and they're all working.
Thank you. Yeah. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. And when they are older, they will not depart from it. So we're teaching them. Another reason why we homeschool is because we want to teach them the Bible. We want to teach them how to make money. We want to teach them how to protect themselves, all that sort of stuff. I can do that so much better. And my wife can do that so much better than anybody else. And plus, who loves them more than us? Nobody. So that's the big reason for us. And so for me, when I was quitting my job, I realized that I needed to be able to replace my income. So I went to my wife and I said, hey, honey, how much do we need to cover expenses? Basically, what are our expenses and how much money do I need to make? And she said, and this number's ingrained in my brain, she said, $4,200 after doing all the math and everything. $4,200 is how much you need to make from your real estate investing for you to not be able to have to work a job. And I said, oh, that's awesome. Okay, that gave me a goal to shoot for. Then I realized, because I bought one property that made me $250 or more. And then I realized $250 in 1 month, that's $3,000 a year without working. Well, if I just did the math, it's super simple. 10 properties is $2,500 a month. That's $30,000 a year in passive income.
Yep.
20 properties is $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year without working. And I realized it's just time. It's just economy of scale. I just got to keep growing and keep building the business. Now, here's one thing, Dawn, that I need to really quickly share, that I did it wrong the first time I bought my first property. I did it wrong. And this is what I followed, what those quote unquote gurus said.
I did too.
It was back in 2005, 2006-ish. I watched one of those infomercials, those late night infomercials. They said, hey, we're coming to your town. We're going to give you a free seminar and we're going to come to your town and we're going to teach you how to invest. I did. I went to that. And then it was all hype, all sales pitch. And I said, now run to the back and go give us thousands of dollars. We're going to take the first 100 people. It's normally $80,000, but we're going to sell it to you for $1,000. Then you go to a 2-day seminar. Then I did. I paid into that, went to that 2-day seminar. Another big sales pitch for their other $40,000 and $50,000, $60,000 courses. But let me quickly share how I did it wrong. And I'll share with you what I do right now, or what I figured out to be the right way. So what I did wrong was what all the quote unquote gurus tell you. They say, okay, find an area of the country to invest, find a property, and then you run the numbers. You make $50 or more in passive income, but you'll get appreciation. You'll like appreciation, which I don't invest for appreciation. In fact, that's just icing on the cake because I'm going to give these properties to my kids. So it doesn't matter if it appreciates. I get for cash flow. But quickly going back. So I'm telling you all the wrong way for everybody listening. I'm telling everybody the wrong way. So you'll hear it, then forget it. Then I'll quickly carry the right way. So the wrong way, find a property, run the numbers. Make sure you're making a little money. Passive income, you get appreciation. Then they say, spend thousands of dollars to buy the property. Then spend thousands of dollars to fix up the property. Then you want to find a tenant to live in there. And then you find a property manager. Well, in my opinion, that's almost backwards. What we do here at Master Passive Income, what I teach all my students is we build the business first. You'll hear me say that over and over and over again. We build the business first. Let me give you an example of what that looks like.
Yeah, I want to know what that means.
Outside real estate. Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to know what that means. So you build the business first. I take notes on all this because the session is called Inside the Minds of Today's Millionaires. So when I'm done, I like to do a recap and see if we got inside of your head a little bit. But I am not being able to keep up with all the great ideas that you're giving me. So tell me about building the business, because all the things that you said, that is like, to me, those people, that's a seminar business. That's not a real estate investing business. Correct. And I tell people all the time, do you want to be a seminar junkie or do you want to be a real estate investor? Because all those people, I mean, we're in Denver. You know how many of those things come to Denver? All the time. And it's all run to the back, get the thing. And then there's the upsell. Oh, you want to learn this, you got to pay that. Oh, you want to learn, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, you're 80 grand in, and most of the people still can't close a deal. They don't have 100%. Enough knowledge.
Yep. So you'll hear me say this over and over again. And the reason why I say build the business first is because I did what those quote unquote gurus told me to do. I bought a property, did everything like that. And in 6 months, my property manager started stealing from me. It was horrible. It was bad. But here's what I also realized. As I realized my property manager was stealing from me, I could have said, oh, woe is me, this doesn't work, and gave up. But I knew I didn't want to do that, number one. But number two, I knew it's been done many, many times before. I just need to figure this out. And remember, like I said in the beginning, I've always been entrepreneurial, always starting businesses. I'm business minded. I said, let me approach this from a business mindset. Yeah. How can I approach this as a different way? So let me give you an example of what building a business first looks like first. So if you're going to start a convenience store, candy bars and soda machines and all that sort of stuff. Well, you're not going to sign a lease on a location, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in there on the ground. No, you wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds.
Yes, you would.
What you would do, though, is you would build the business first. You get the gondolas, the little shelving units, all the candy bars going on, countertops, cold storage, fountain machines, bank accounts, cash registers, employees, insurance, everything in the business before you buy any inventory to put inside the business. Same thing with real estate investing. We build the entire business first, making sure that everything runs itself. And then we buy a property, and that property is our inventory. The gurus will tell you, you buy one property, that property is your business, is a business. No. My business owns inventory. Yes. I buy a property and I put that property into my business as inventory. And the reason why I was able to scale my business so fast is because I was able to build a business, and then all I needed to do was get enough money, financing and many different hard money. We can get into that in just a second. But I found ways to buy the properties, but then I just input that in my systems in the business that I created, and it ran itself. All I need to do was buy the next property. So that's how we scale the business. But we look for, actually, I'll give you a couple quick things that I do with my students.
Just real quick. So you teach people to buy rentals as their long-term wealth. Now, do you work with anything like storage units, commercial land, or you like single-family homes? Or are you a little bit of everything?
My bread and butter is residential, 4 units and below. I love residential. I could do that in my sleep. I could literally do that. That's why I coach it, because that's so much fun for me. But I also, as an investor, I love investing in basically play Monopoly. You just keep scaling up and eventually get to multifamily, get to land investing, get to storage units. So currently, I do also, because I have enough money from my bread and butter, my residential properties, that I invest in syndications. In fact, one of the most recent syndications, I bought into 2 hotels, and it's doing awesome. It's like 9% return, plus we're hopefully going to exit in like 3 to 5 years. And so I love investing in all these everything is great, but on top of that, I make sure I have a river of income, because that hotel, it's another stream of income.
Yep.
Any other storage units, another stream. But I put all my money back into my residential business, 4 units and below, because that's so easy for me. And when you think about multifamily, usually they try to exit in 5 years and trade up. No,
Yep.
I don't want that, because I want to have my properties.
We sell nothing.
Give these to my kids.
Nothing. If we get it, we keep it till the end of time. We're going to give it to the kids and the grandkids. Nothing is for sale.
Absolutely. Yes,
Nothing.
100%. And so what I decided to do was, because my bread and butter was in the business of my own personal real estate, I don't take on partners. Now, I'll get loans from, private money lenders and all that sort of stuff, hard money lenders. I've even used a credit card to buy properties. It's a really advanced strategy, so don't jump right into that. But
no, I've done that before too.
You can do it. Exactly. And so what we do is we build the business. And just like if you bought a candy bar, let's say for 50 cents, and you knew without a doubt that you had the systems in place and the customers to buy it for $1, well, you'll make 50 cents every single time. That's what we do with real estate investing. We build a business and we make sure that our expenses are lower than our income. And I suggest, what I teach all my students, $250 or more in passive income. So you add up all your expenses, mortgage, property management fees, taxes, insurance, all that sort of stuff, add that all up. And then you make sure you rent it for $250 or more, or that it can rent for $250 or more. And then that's your passive income. But here's the biggest thing, that the reason why we build the business is because we want experts to tell us if we're doing something wrong. Let me give you an example. So we invest all over the country. Out of state, I love investing out of state. And I have students investing in Texas, Ohio, Arizona, Carolinas, Florida, basically anywhere.
Everywhere.
You don't have to live right next to it. But this is what we do. We make sure that and this is mostly like one-on-one coaching. This is what I do with all my students. So what we do is we find a city anywhere in the country that has good inventory. Remember, we're not going to build a business if we don't have inventory to sell.
That's right. You can't. That's right.
So we find a city that has really good inventory, the homes that we want to buy, that we're going to rent, where we're going to make enough money in passive income. I suggest cookie cutter type homes, ones that either people want to rent or buy, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 to 1,500 square feet. You're going to do really, really well. So
yep. I do that. I have so many of those. That's my favorite. I love little single family homes.
I love those.
Yes. That's like my favorite thing. I still love it. Totally. I have all the other stuff. It's like, I don't know, I rent them to women. It's like, I got that, like, oh, I got to take care of all the girls.
Absolutely. We're serving people. We're helping people.
Yeah, we are. We're serving people.
Yep. And so we find a city that has good inventory. And usually when I coach my students, I show them, we find a good city with good inventory. They immediately jump to it and start working on it.
My volume was off on my phone. Go ahead.
What we do is they start looking for realtors. They say, hey, Dustin, we found this city and I've already got 5 realtors sending me properties. I'm like, whoa. Stop. We don't go right to realtors. And in fact, realtors are like the last step. In fact, I buy properties from realtors, from wholesalers, other investors, title companies tell me, hey, there's a property that's going on the market. From other investors, I buy from everywhere. Realtors are literally last. But what we do first is we find the right property manager. And it's just like if you start at a convenience store, and at the convenience store, you said, we need to interview somebody. You don't just grab somebody off the street and say, hey, you got a pulse. Let me have you run my business, manage my inventory, run my money, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to do that. No, you would interview the people first. So what we do is we pause looking at properties, finding properties. We look at our property manager. We hire them after we interview them. We've interviewed them multiple times because we want to make sure that we hire the right person that's going to run the business. Now, with that, a lot of people are asking me a question. Like, literally, I get this all the time. Well, Dustin, how do you afford a property manager? Like, that's a lot of money. And I say, well, here, get this. Think about this. When I build my business, I know what my business does, and we have inventory. So I don't pay my property managers. I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my mortgage. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay for repairs. I don't pay for any of that stuff. My tenants pay for all that. Now, it so happens that the money comes into me, and then I pay that out to everybody, all the bills. Yes. But I don't have to get a job to pay for the property manager. No, if the numbers don't work, I do not buy the property, or I lower my offer to where the numbers do work, where it affords the property manager. And with that, just like a business, if you could buy a candy bar for 50 cents, sell it for $1, and all your expenses are covered in that 50 cents, then you're making 50 cents in profit. Same thing with real estate investing. We account for all of our expenses. And here's a big key, Dwan, on top of that. Zillow's not an expert. Redfin's not expert. Trulia, like these are databases. They're just companies trying to just give out information.
Yes.
They're not experts. But who are the experts? They are the people that literally live there on the ground that do the work. Our property managers, they're the experts. And this is how you'll know what a good property manager is, a good expert. If you say, hey, property manager, I'm looking at buying this house. Here's the address. And if it's a good property manager, they might say something like, oh man, I know that city. I know that street actually. In fact, I drive by there all the time. I have a property right around the corner. And we were trying, it's the same type of house. We were trying to get $1,400 for it. Zillow said it was supposed to be $1,400, but we could only get, the max we get was $1,250. Well, if you would have ran your numbers, what Zillow says is $1,400 and not get $1,250, you'd be losing money. So what we do is we build the business first so that it runs itself, and we have experts there. Like our inspectors are experts. Our plumbers, our roofers, our contractors, they're the experts. We hire them, and we hire them slow and fire them fast. Slow meaning we interview, we make sure they're going to be the right people for the property or for the business, and then we put them to work.
You hire them slow and fire them fast. I'm sorry. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use that.
Absolutely.
I have to let so many people go sometimes. It really seemed like they were going to really do great, and then they just don't. They do good, you know, it was like that old saying, like a new broom sweeps great. They do good for a minute, and then next thing you know, it's like, what's happening right here? And we've had people steal from us too. So you really do have to kind of lock down your business.
Absolutely. And here's another thing. When I build a business, I want to make it so it's passive income. That's why I love Master Passive Income. That's why I got the domain Master Passive Income. And I find that real estate investing, if you do it right, it's literally mastering passive income, because I work one time and I get paid over and over and over again. And so I have 30 plus properties now. And people, you know, we've all heard of the book, maybe heard of the book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
Well, I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't want to work 4 hours a month. I work maybe 30 minutes a month on all my properties. I just get the property management statements, make sure everything looks good, and then set it back aside and go back to playing with my kids. Because what I did was I built a business, and then I put systems and processes in place so that it runs the way that I want it to run, not the way that other people want it to run. And so when you do that, you have an automatic business. I'll give you a quick example. In 2017, when I quit my job, I took my family 6 weeks. We went to Japan, drove 2,000 miles around the left-hand side of the road in Japan as a sightseeing field trip. And then 2018, we went to Europe, 11 different countries for another 6-week trip. On top of that, both of those didn't even think about my companies, didn't even think about my real estate, because other people were making money for me. And then 2019, I went from Florida, drove from Florida all the way up to Washington, D.C. and New York for a big field trip with my family for a 4-week trip. Didn't even think about my business. And the big reasons why: we build the business, we put our systems and processes in place, and we hire experts to do all the work for us.
I know. It's great. I love your energy, and I love what you guys are doing. And honestly, if people, one of the things, I don't know, I'm sure you see the same thing. So many people that are real estate investors, they treat their business like it's a hobby instead of like it's a business. It's like, listen, this is a business. Like, you got to pay taxes, and you have the appreciation, you have the repairs, and you have the insurance, and you have all this stuff like that. This is a business. You have like people you're paying to be property managers. It's a business. And people are just like, kind of, oh, I want to be a serious investor. I'm going to make $1 million this year. I mean, how are you going to do that? Well, I don't know. I'm going to do one deal and see where it goes. And they treat it like it's a hobby. And then when they don't make it, and a couple of years go by, and they go, I spun my wheels for 2 years. I couldn't close any deals, so I quit. It's like, you're an idiot. Like, literally, it's the easiest thing you can do, but you've got to treat it, because you work for yourself doesn't mean that it's a hobby. Because if you had to report to that boss every day, you would do that to get your paycheck. So we got to treat it like it's a business to get our paychecks.
You're 100%. I'll add to that too. If you do what those gurus tell you, remember the wrong way that I told you from the very beginning, they tell you how to do this. And what's going to happen is, more than likely, the realtor's going to say, oh, this could be a great property, blah, blah, blah. And they'll blow smoke and make it seem like it's great. And it happens all the time. It's bad for the investor, good for me, because I buy properties off of people who don't know how to do it right. I do it right, and I make a lot of money on it. It's sad for them. But this is what's going to happen. Let's say you buy a house, spend all that money, thousands of dollars to buy it, thousands of dollars to fix it up. You get it rented, and then you try to find a property manager. You start calling around, and every single property manager says, I'm not going to manage that property. I'll get shot if I go there. Well, you no longer have an asset anymore. You have a liability.
That's right.
And so what we do is we hire experts who are going to tell us, do not buy that property in that area. It's a bad area. I won't manage it. So if your property manager says, I won't manage it, don't buy it because it's probably going to be a bad property.
But that is true, and I know that puts a lot of faith in the property manager. But if you've really checked them out and you really talked to them and you're sure, like, hey, this is a person like our moral compass is aligned. I feel like I can trust this person with this sector of my business. Property managers are like the greatest thing. I have the best property manager in Iowa. I don't know what I would do without her.
Absolutely.
Like, she's worth more than gold to me.
100%. They make us money. They really do.
Thanks so much.
To add to that, my property manager, I don't even want to talk to them on the phone. I don't want to email them. I want them to just run the business the way I want them to do it without bothering me. And so what I do is I literally take at least 2 or 3 weeks of interviewing different property managers multiple times before I actually pick the right one, because I want to keep a property manager for 5, 10, 15, 20 years without talking to them. And so if we hire them right, we hire slow, but fire fast, hopefully we're going to have a good property manager or I have multiple property managers, but have multiple property managers that just run your business without even asking you any questions, and they do it the way you want it to do it.
Yes. When I get a really good manager like that, I'm like, now listen, you're going to work with me till you die. So
exactly.
I'm just telling you right now, because when I die and then my kids, you're going to work for them. So I don't care if you live to be 100, you're going to work for me all the way till you're 100. Nobody goes anywhere. So I get a really good person like that. They really are so valuable. Like that, what's that? The Proverbs woman more valuable than the ruby. Like, you don't want to let them go, But
Absolutely.
I have sure gone through a few that I was like, what was I thinking when I hired that person? Because sometimes they seem amazing and you check them out and you talk to them and you do all the things and you're like, oh, and they seem great. And then you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah. And so what I do with my students, because I've hired lots of people in my life and not everybody has. And so what I need to do is teach them how to hire. So what I literally do for my students, I give them a list of 22 different questions and the answers that you should hopefully get. And if they don't answer them this way, you move on. But inside my courses and coaching and everything, I literally give that to them because it's like, you need to ask lots and lots of questions. Just like if you're being interviewed for a job, they're going to ask you questions, and it depends on how you respond to them. If you respond poorly, you might not get hired.
You might not get the job. I got to tell you, in the beginning, when you said you quit your job just over broke, I haven't heard anybody use that term for a while, so I wrote it down because it made me laugh. Because I used to always hear people say, oh, your job is just over broke, which I love that term. I have not heard that for a few years. It's so funny. Like, how you forget something, and then I wrote it down. And I was like, "Oh my God, I used to love saying that to people."
Oh, totally, and it really wakes them up too. So the two things: the job, living just over broke, and then when I say successfully unemployed, usually, like I walked around with a shirt, like
I love your
grocery
shirt.
Stores and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, I'm sending you my address after this. You're sending me a shirt. I'm gonna wear it, and I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna Instagram and go, look, here's my shirt.
Absolutely. People look at me.
It's a good shirt. I wish I would have thought of it myself, actually.
My wife did. So as I was quitting my job, I wrote the book, How to Quit Your Job with Rental Properties, just to teach people. And then as I was quitting, I learned so many lessons, like what to do about insurance, what to do about your vacation time that you have saved up, like all this sort of stuff. And I was learning this, and I was like, I've already written a book. Let me write another book that teaches what the lessons you should learn. And my wife came up with the idea of the name Successfully Unemployed. And so that's the name now of my other book. Successfully Unemployed is the other book, talking about what to do when you're quitting. But when I walk around in stores, I get 2 responses usually. First one is where people they're like us, like you and me, Dwan, where they know, they like see it and they're like, oh, I get it. Like just yesterday, I was at Topgolf with my family, and a guy, as I'm walking out, he goes, oh, I love that shirt. I need to earn that. I'm like, yes, I know what you mean. But the other one is I get people at like grocery stores. They'll say, oh, sorry. I'm like, sorry for what? They say, oh, your shirt, you're unemployed. I'm like, oh, no.
They didn't
I'm
understand
successfully unemployed, which means I found a way to provide for my family without working that job. So, get into it. But absolutely, I love shaking people's mind because we're all taught, like I said from the very beginning, go to school, get good grades, get a career, and then retire when you're 65 years old. Man, I loved retiring at 37 years old. I still work. I have many businesses now, which means I don't work for somebody else.
No, you work for yourself. Working for yourself is, I just tell people all the time, it's like once you work for yourself successfully, you can't ever go back. Like there's no way to go back.
Yes, absolutely.
There's just no path. There's no path back for me.
I would say one quick thing, though,
graduated. I'm a little bit older than you. So I graduated high school in 1977 and I lived in Ohio. And so as I was in high school, Ohio and Michigan were all the places that General Motors. So my whole life I heard, get out of high school, get married, have kids, get a factory job. They pay good and you retire when you're like 60 and you work 40 years in a factory. So I got a factory job. And after like 3 days, I thought, oh my God, why would somebody want this from me from the rest of my life? I'm 18 years old and I'm already ready to like jump off that roof. I'm not doing this for 40 years. But that's what I was raised. It was the factory era. And get the job and work for General Motors, and you have your insurance and your benefits, and blah, 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 and then you retire. I mean, honestly, I wasn't even there, not even literally a week. And I was like praying. I was like, oh, Lord, please don't let the roof just cave in and kill me right now because I can't do this. But so I also had that Midwest like work ethic. Like, you don't quit your job. When you commit to someone you're going to work, you work. And, my dad raised me like that way. And I was like, oh, my Lord, I need a break. Thankfully,
I will say, though, the reason why I like the term successfully unemployed as opposed to unemployable is I would actually pay Warren Buffett to work for him, to have a job. I would pay him. And the reason why is because all the experience that I would get, all the contacts that I would get, all the knowledge, all the wisdom, like all that sort of stuff, that's why I'm not unemployable. I'll literally work for him for free if not pay him. But it's working to learn and working to grow as opposed to working for money. I'll never work for money ever again.
Yeah, I love it. I gotta tell you, you have like such a great heart, such a good spirit. Your energy is just like, it's contagious. It's really wonderful. And Thanks, just one more time, tell everybody how to reach you.
Totally. So definitely get my real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. You can go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course, get that. But at the same time, I'm on Instagram too. I love being on Instagram. Actually, I probably should spend less time on there, but I'm the Dustin Heiner, THE Dustin Heiner, HEINER. I'm not that arrogant. It's just the only thing I could find. And so the Dustin Heiner, you can find me on there. Plus my podcast, the Master Passive Income Podcast. I even have a second podcast called Successfully Unemployed, which, Don, you're going to be on, and you're going to be sharing everything about how to be successfully unemployed. And the reason why I have Successfully Unemployed podcast is because I love real estate, but not everybody wants real estate. But there are so many other ways. And my passion is to show people you don't have to work for somebody else to provide for yourself and your family. So I created Successfully Unemployed.
Besides real estate, just do something.
Exactly. And there are hundreds. I already have 165 episodes now interviewing different people that have found different ways. Like just recently, like 2 weeks ago, I interviewed somebody that takes stock photography, puts them on sites. He makes $5,000 to $10,000 a month from his pictures just selling automatically. I'm like, what in the world? This is amazing. So there's so many ways to do it. So so Master Passive Income, Successfully Unemployed. My YouTube channels, both as well. Just look for Dustin Heiner or Master Passive Income as well. But man, it's been great. I love being able to share this out.
I got to ask a couple non-related questions because you can tell a lot about people by certain things. So I want to know, what's your favorite band of all time?
Whoa, I would have to. So I haven't. When I was growing up, it was definitely Dave Matthews Band. That's probably one of the ones that But I would say the one I listen to most now is I work out a lot. I go to the gym 5 days a week because I don't have a job, so I can work out. But honestly, I say I listen to AC/DC a lot because it really helps me to exercise, helps me to lift weights. I like Olympic lifting, that snatch and clean and jerk, the things you see. But
so AC/DC's favorite band of all time.
What's that?
AC/DC favorite band of all time.
I would probably say that. That's probably, I guess, probably it.
They're really good, though. I love them, too. What's your favorite food?
It's a toss-up between Japanese food and Chinese food, but more than likely Japanese food.
That actually is my favorite, too. I could eat sushi and Japanese food. Like, I never get tired. It is my favorite thing to eat. So good.
Here.
So I want to just review. So let's see today if I was able to get just a little tiny bit inside the mind of Dustin Heiner. I took a lot of notes, and sometimes I write a little bit scribbling, then I go back and I can't really say what I wrote here. But so the first thing is people can text rental to 33777, and your website is masterpassiveincome.com/free course because you got some free stuff there. When you were a kid, you were in California, you had your paper route, doing all the fun things like that. And you've done lots of other businesses, skateboard graphics, something about pizza. You said it really quick, so I didn't
pizzeria and a convenience store.
Okay, I just wrote down pizza and then I never finished the word. But you're kind of like your epiphany was when you get laid off. You went on paternity leave, and then when you got back from that, you got laid off, and you were
31, and then I quit.
31, and you got laid off, and like the thing hit you, like, you know what? I never want to be in a position again where somebody else can just yank my money, yank my thing, and just take, because you realize at that very moment that you actually weren't in control. You were on the career path. Like we were all taught some method of that. And so you started doing your first rentals, and your bottom line is you want to make $250 a month profit. And then that pays for all the things like that. And you help people build a business first. You look at your real estate as your inventory to your business. You're like 4 units and below. And let's see, you're 43, you have a wife, you have 4 beautiful children, and you like AC/DC and Japanese food.
Good job. You did it.
And you're a Christian. Is that a little bit?
Yes. Yes, I'm definitely Christian.
I wrote a lot down so quick. It's like, okay, I didn't get everything. Okay, so for the last thing, so first of all, everybody, I want to always thank you and honor you for listening to my show. Just like Dustin, we certainly realize how valuable time is, and we know that you have all kinds of options on how you spend your time. So I thank you for listening to us today. And if you liked anything, loved anything, had a laugh, anything at all, just go back and find my podcast. It's the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I took my name Dwan and the word wonderful and made Dwanderful. So I want you to leave a 5-star review, and I want you to write something. So on the days when I'm just teaching you individually, I read 5-star reviews. So I might get a chance to read your review, but I can't read one if you don't leave one. And at my site, Dwanderful.com, I have 4 free ebooks for you. And also, like you, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And just, if there's any place you can find the word Dwanderful, I'm there. Okay, so the last thing, I feel like this is going to be a little challenging for you, but maybe not, because you got a lot of great stories. I always like our guests to leave us with a parting word of wisdom, but it's just one single word, and that's our word for the week. So what's our word?
Let's see. A lot of the words are flying through my head right now, but I would have, so for me, how I got here is persistence.
Okay. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, if I would have given up when that property manager started stealing from me, I wouldn't be here today talking to you.
All right, so guys, that is your word of the week. Yes, your encouraging word is persistent. And persistence is a really great word, because like we were talking about, people go to these seminars, they spend money, they don't treat it like it's a job, they feel like it's a hobby, then it's not working out, and they quit. And sometimes people quit when they're just on the precipice of making it. They're like this close, and they tap out. It's like, no, be persistent. I don't think you can be self-employed and not be persistent.
Very true.
I don't know. I'm like a honey badger, so if I want something or something, I'm just like, don't even think about saying no to me. All right. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I love your energy. I love your heart, and I'm super honored that we got a chance to finally, to hook up and get together. And everyone else, just remember, we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and remember that the truth is in the red letters. Okay, everybody. Ciao. Dustin, thank you once again.
Thank you, Dwan.